Welcome back to Women Today. So earlier on we were discussing a lot of things about the education system and its multiple nuances, which obviously expands past the span of the show. But we hope you're enjoying what you're watching so far. I certainly am, especially with the information and the knowledge and the wisdom that everyone here has today. I guess we'll keep on going, and please do call in if you have any other questions or anything that you'd like to comment on, especially because this is getting quite intellectual at the moment, which is expected with people from such different backgrounds, and obviously very high achievers as well, mashallah, tabarakallah. So we were speaking about vocational subjects and how in the education system that we're in at the moment, it's slightly more difficult to actually do well in them because they're not valued by the system that's kind of being created, especially with the reforms and everything that's happening. And actually, in the break, we were kind of discussing how this can link into people's passions and prevents them from following the passions because they're restricted financially. So is there anything that, as women, that, you're particularly interested in, but you feel society doesn't value it? I know, Sophia, you're quite a good baker.
I didn't go that far. I'm just saying it's a career choice.
Sophia makes excellent bakes, by the way. I think if it's not a career choice, at least a social media page or something like that. And actually, there are, Muslim Bangladeshi women. Their names escape me at the moment, but they're excellent cooks. They're excellent.
Nadia.
So Nadia, she's definitely one. Yeah.
Yes, of course, Nadia Hussain. So they do, follow the passions, excel in it, and do amazingly well in it. But would you be able to get a degree in baking or food tech? And I haven't even heard of that at the moment. So I'm guessing at the moment, it's not something that's particularly valued. So that pathway is a lot more, less defined, and that's obvious. And it would be interesting to hear what passions that you have that maybe you could see yourself if you didn't have the restrictions following. And do you want to start, maybe Sophia or Selena? I'll leave it up to you guys.
I know with my A-level choices, I've been kind of split two ways, like with the normal idea of practical subjects and like my passionate subjects. So I'm doing chemistry, maths, and then history and English. So I feel like I need that bit of security. Otherwise, that's just how everyone thinks at the moment. So yeah.
And when you say security, is that security that's defined by you or by universities? Or who is that? Who gives you that definition of security?
I think even in school, if I say like what subjects I'm doing or something, like I'm the only person in my science class who's not doing another science.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and if I say my subjects, that people are like, oh, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like what do you possibly want to do? Like if you don't want to be a doctor, that's basically what, like they can't really understand it. But I think also people don't really see education as like a way to just become educated. I think everyone's just like, I need to get my grades so I can get a job. But I think even just trying to be intellectual, having multiple disciplines is really important. Just for personal well-being and becoming
And actually, like in society, we'll see that there are so many aspects that are in the humanities subjects. For example, history. If you don't know about the own history of, for example, your own country or for what's happened in this country, then you see a lot of the problems that we face day to day as humans living in a human world that your maths will never be able to necessarily solve. But actually understanding the social influences and the historical influences is really important.
I mean, that's a very important point that you just made, and yourself, in the sense that being aware of your own history, but also your heritage as well. And I think it's not a worry, but the trend is, if you like, that as we see the second, third generation of our community born and being brought up here, so for example, your language is disappearing, so even at home now, 99.9% of the time we're speaking in English. Okay, so we've got a bit of education, we can be a little bit articulate. However, we've completely neglected our mother tongue.
Yeah.
That's what our mothers came over with. And now it's only when I speak to my mum
Yeah.
that I speak in Bengali, because she will refuse to speak in English, and she's like, I don't understand. But having said that, if you look at the long-term trend,
Yeah.
basically in a few generations, will our children actually know that they were from, I don't know, Bangladesh or Pakistan or wherever?
Yeah.
They'll just be British or English, which is not a bad thing, because obviously we integrate, we take on the positive aspects of the culture here,
Yeah.
and we work hard to contribute, as we do, as most of our community do. However, I personally think it's important that we should try and also learn and research, and
Yeah.
you know, we want to become intellectuals and
For sure.
highly educated about our own cultures, our own histories, and you know, there are some initiatives, but
Yeah.
not many. But I think it's really important that, so for example, when you're studying your A levels, or when you're doing your degree in history or literature or classics, for example, you will invariably be taught about Greece, about
Yes.
Rome, about the European civilizations,
Yeah.
you know, and developments. But what about, you know, when it was the Dark Ages here, it was actually the time of enlightenment for the Islamic culture, perhaps, you know, in the Middle East, in North Africa. What about that?
Yeah.
Do you know about that? I don't even, personally, I don't
Yeah.
even know about that.
It's almost been
And-
erased, and you don't even
Finally
hear
people-
You
about
know,
it.
when I went through the education system, I never heard about that, hardly at all. So I grew up thinking that, oh, Muslims are stupid, they're backward. You know, look at them. They don't know how to look after their own countries. There's always disasters, Bangladesh, you know, they're backward, cyclones and things. So I had a very warped view
Yeah.
of my own heritage, if you like.
Yeah.
And it's only now that I'm a bit older, maybe, and a bit more curious about
Yeah.
it, I'm trying to find out. And I'm thinking
Let's
that it's
see.
really important
Yeah.
for our youngsters to actually find
Yeah.
out as well.
I'd love
You
to
know?
come back to that very soon, because you bring up some really important points, and I think actually maybe our caller who's just called in
Oh,
might have something to say as well. So, Assalamu alaikum, caller.
Alaikum assalam.
Please, who's speaking? And
My name's Susie. I'm actually Sophia's aunt, and Shahi's younger sister. But I've been watching your discussion with interest, and obviously it's a important topic, because I'm a Muslim woman, you know, who grew up in this education system as well. And there's been some really interesting points made, and both the young ladies have articulated themselves really well. You know, and I'm not biased, but my brother has been, you know, articulating what's currently going on in the education system very well too, and it's something that as parents need to be aware of.
yeah,
But I wanted to, I mean, there's so much to talk about, but I just wanted to make one really, really important point. And I think it's great that our young Muslim women are excelling in education, and they're really focused on succeeding and changing the mold of what, you know, how our parents would have grown up. But I really want to stress to young ladies to not just be tunnel vision on their education, because living life and being in the world and functioning in the world is another aspect that we need to learn. So when you are tunneling yourself into your books, make sure to remember to go and experience actual life experiences, like traveling, doing work experience, doing voluntary work, meeting different people, and learning how to communicate and function in the real world. Because once you finish that degree and you go out in the real world, you might be in for a shock. So to succeed, you need to also have, you know, the education or the school system of life.
yeah.
So please do remember to go and live a little.
Definitely. I mean, I think that's, you know, words of wisdom for us all, especially as people who haven't even entered the workplace yet, and even through work experience, you might have seen how different the real life works to theory and textbooks.
Yeah. And last, sorry, before I go, I also work in the NHS, and Sadia, you know, watching you is very proud, that made me proud as a woman as well. So well done on doing that. And junior doctors, although you work long hours and it is tough going through that qualification, it's worth it in the end. And you wouldn't be doing this job if you didn't care. So good luck
Inshallah.
with the rest of it, okay? So I'm just going to
Oh.
hang up and I'll keep watching the show. Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Jazakallah khair for calling in and sharing your viewpoints and also, you know, your words of wisdom as well. I think hearing from a Muslim woman actually in the workplace who's been through it all, you know, through the education system, and you know, this shows about education, but also education isn't just, you know, what you learn in school, it's also what you learn outside of it and developing your skills in that sense. So I think law is actually probably one of those, you know, one of those areas where there's a lot of human contact and there's a lot of kind of intangible qualities that you have to have that won't necessarily be shown on paper. You know more about it than me, obviously. So Selena, would you like to expand on that at all?
I was going to actually pick up on something her dad was speaking about before, about in terms of the education system and sort of the curriculum being shaped around sort of the sort of, let's say, British history and sort of the bad aspects of it, and let's say Bangladesh's history especially, it's sort of been hidden away into the cracks and shadows. And I myself, as a history student, didn't know anything about the Bangladeshi war until I turned around and went, I want to do my coursework in it, and then that meant I had to go read up on it and I had to ask my dad questions. So I think, especially, I feel like a lot of people my age can relate to. I didn't really understand why there was this whole Pakistan-Bangladesh friction, and I didn't know anything about that till I went and did the research, till I went and found out about sort of the East Pakistan and West Pakistan and the feud that happened between it. So I think, especially picking up on what her dad said, it's so important to understand your own culture, because I couldn't understand why certain people had such a sort of, not stigma, but sort of this friction between different cultures. And it's understanding, well, it's because they've been through this experience, because, you know, people that, you know, that they weren't even allowed to speak their own language at one point. It was made secondary, and sort of understanding the struggle that Bengalis went through, and that why they're so passionate about their language and retaining that culture.
Definitely, that's kind of why we have.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah. No, I know about that. Thank God.
You know, like you know, our language day and everything, because it's something that we've kind of thoughtful people have basically died for, and you know, some people have said that Bangladesh, or Bangla, is the sweetest language in the world, and I can definitely agree with that. And I think a lot of, you know, for example now, I know some Bangladeshi societies, I'm just going to mention King's, they do Bangla classes, and it's actually teaching people, a lot of people who go there, I was one of them, they go there to try and learn how to read, how to write, how to speak Bangla again properly, so that you can preserve it when you know, when you grow up. And, you know, I speak to my cat in Bangla because that's how I show love, which is one thing. But you know, the only other person I speak to Bangla with is my dadu. So it's, you know, it's just preserving that, and actually that's where I feel like home. And I think that's something that, you know, my grammar school would never have taught me that, but it's something that is very important in life. And I think the skills that you learn in school are, yes, they're crucial, but also there are loads of things, as Auntie very nicely mentioned, that we should also cherish while we have the opportunity.
I actually did a GCSE in Bengali. Funny enough, I told my dad I wanted to do French. He went, no, you're going to do Bengali because you're going to learn it. And now I know how to read and write in it. So, you know, good things always come out of it. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's really, see, like, I would have loved to have that, you know, studied a little bit harder, and that would have actually probably changed my home life a little bit more. I mean, definitely the sciences have, and I love the sciences as well, but I think that extra something, you know, that's not just stability, that extra something that is, you know, is close to the heart.
Enriching yourself in your own culture and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we've discussed a lot of things as well. I think one thing that we haven't really touched upon is kind of Muslim women going into the community and actually shaping the community. So we did mention volunteering here and there. I know, Holly, you do a lot of volunteering with Silla Aid.
That's right.
Doing fantastic things, and, you know, like runs.
As it goes, we're doing something on this weekend. So if anyone's out there, like in the Mile End area, or if they'd like to come down to East London, we're doing it's a cultural event as well. So promoting the culture and the colour of Sylhet and Bangladesh.
And a lot of
it's called a Longi Run, funnily enough. So it could be a bit quite entertaining as well. So it's a bit of a fun event. Everyone's welcome to come to it. Myland Park this Sunday at about 11:30 in the morning, and you'll see there'll be a race, but there'll be lots of other fun activities as well.
So a lot of, you know, charities and things that are also like kind of going back to Bangladesh and doing, you know, nowadays actually, maybe 10 years ago you would have seen just Islamic, you know, people getting involved in Islamic charities, and now getting involved in increasingly getting more and more specialised.
In fact,
doing
one of
things
the
with
one of the
Bangladesh
things
and
we
that.
do related to education is that we make a point of visiting. We go into all the different areas of Sylhet, wherever the volunteers are from.
Yeah.
We make a point of going to the primary schools to promote education, in particular girls, and we give out educational toys and like educational products to help them with their education, and we do little competitions and things and
That's
prizes
fantastic.
to stimulate their sort of enthusiasm and so on.
Yeah.
So because I've been back like maybe twice, or I think 2 times or 3 times, so they actually look forward to us going there. It's like a highlight for them. Oh, the guys are going to come, they're going to give out prizes.
And do you give it to the girls as
so-
well?
Oh, of course. No, that's what we actually promote, positively encourage the girls.
Girls.
So last time we gave Lego,
Yeah.
and when we went back, they were still playing with the Lego the
Oh, that's
following year.
fantastic.
And then we gave out Rubik's Cubes,
Yes.
and they loved it, you know, the challenge. And
They're kind of like subtly educational, but
That's
not
right.
really educational
no, but
toys.
it's creativity, enjoyment.
Yeah.
So some of the teachers actually said the kids actually, the attendance has actually improved because they're coming in because they've got toys and everything. You know?
Mashallah, tabarakallah,
So-
that's, you know, that's a great initiative, and I think as young women as well, like we'll probably be, you know, doing a lot more things. I'm trying to encourage women who are younger than us that didn't have the same experiences, and that's what
And
we're
I
hoping to
think
get from the
it's
show as
actually
well.
proven, like
Yeah.
United Nations research and whatnot, that if you educate the ladies,
Yeah.
the women, it actually has a far bigger impact on the family and the society going forward if you focus on educating women, basically, because in terms of home life, in terms of looking after their children's education and so on, it actually has a greater impact and it's more beneficial.
So the scientific evidence is there as well, and I think, you know, that's something that we'll definitely be taking away. I think, you know, we only have around 2 minutes left for the show, but if you want to give any, you know, concluding remarks, I think, Khalu, that was, you know, amazing kind of way to end it from, you know, a parent's point of view as well, and actually more of an intellectual point of view. And as students and as women, do you have anything that you'd like to kind of, you know, concluding remarks that you'd like to end the show with at all?
I think I'd definitely say don't be too hard on yourself. Obviously, make something of yourself. You're going to need to provide for yourself somehow, but also learn how to relax, learn how to sort of communicate what you want to do well, and sort of look at the passions you have and see how you can like shape them academically, and see how you can make yourself something with that, and just don't take yourself too seriously all the time, because I mean, at the end of the day, we're not going to be here forever. Make sure everything that you do, you want to leave your mark in this world, and don't just try to fill in the stereotype gaps. Try to be your own person, pursue what you want. So I think I definitely encourage that.
I think you're definitely doing that as well, being the first state school winner of the eating debating competition. So, mashallah, tabarakallah. I had to throw it in there before the show ended. Congratulations. Thank you for coming on as well.
That's all right.
And Safaya?
I think lastly, people who are only educated in school, I don't think they're truly educated. If you just learn specifications, you only learn mark schemes, and you don't put yourself out there and learn more, watch documentaries, read books, watch historical movies, whatever, you're only learning as much as what everyone your age learn. I think you really find your passion and read around it, work around it, write around it, and yeah, that's how you really become educated, I think.
Really cool.
The wisdom is too much, mashallah. Honestly.
Can I just quickly say I'm so proud to be sitting with such articulate and intelligent and, you know, good life experience as well, you know, young ladies. And also we need more influential and women in influential and powerful positions.
Yeah.
Because as you can see in what's happening around us, you know, I think it's a bit too male dominated, and we need a lot more common sense, a lot more creativity, and a lot more caring, which comes from, which I think ladies can actually contribute much better. We need that in society.
Alhamdulillah, and I think actually, you know, ultimately a lot of us are the products of our environments and the inspiration and the kind of, the support and everything else that our parents do for us as well. So, you know, thanks for, you know, as uncles, as family members, as parents, everyone who's watching. You're either a parent or you're the son or daughter of a parent. So, I'm sure, you know, we wouldn't be here or wherever we are without the support of them and the sacrifices they've made as well. So, you know, alhamdulillah, we're in a very, very fortunate position now. And yeah, we definitely have something that we need to give back. And, you know, as people who've gone to state schools and excelled, or even grammar schools and excelled and had those opportunities, I think, you know, alhamdulillah, we have, as women, is scientifically proven, we have so much that we can achieve, not just, you know, in education, but also outside of education, and actually understanding education as a way of learning and a way of developing as people. And, you know, as you both very, you know, rightly mentioned, just giving you those life skills and actually cherishing it for what it is. Some fun, you know, fascinating conversations that I would love to have picked up on and kind of expanded upon more, but unfortunately we only have 1 hour today. But I hope everyone who's been watching has enjoyed the show. Thank you for calling in as well and tuning in. I'd also like to thank my guests for coming and spending their time and sharing their thoughts and their personal experiences. And I'm sure, inshallah, you know, you'll all go far, especially when you can articulate yourselves. So, and, you know, I look forward to seeing what everyone achieves. And thank you as well for coming on and sharing your experiences as a parent, as a teacher, as someone who's actually been through it themselves. I think, you know, actually being able to speak to people like that is a privilege. So, Jazakallah khair, and thank you all for watching. Tune in again, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.